This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is July 21st, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. What is up, brother?
Yo, what's up? Another day, another episode. Yeah, things are good. Magic lost again in Summer League. 8-game losing streak going back to last season, so that's exciting. But how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, 0-5. Not great in the Summer League, but like we've talked about, Tristan, Jace, Noah, all looked really good. Positive takeaways from that. Don't really expect any of these other guys outside of Ethan Thompson on the two-way to make the Magic roster. Feels like we're pretty much done. Probably going to sign one more two-way guy, I would guess, like going into the season with two. Leave the third open like they did last year. Guys really shouldn't see the floor for the Magic, knock on wood, barring a mess of injuries like last year. But yeah, Summer League come and gone now. And the next few weeks here, we're going to have some like international friendlies popping up as we head into Eurobasket. So as we know, Franz Wagner going to be playing for Germany. And now we know that Goga is going to be playing for Georgia, Kevin.
Yeah, not surprised, obviously. It's something we expected for sure. And this is no shade to the country of Georgia, but not a whole lot of NBA players coming out of there these days. So when you got one in Goga, he's going to be on the roster. So yeah, good for him. Good for Franz. The whole Franz conversation is a different thing. So I think some Magic fans, myself included, kind of wished he wasn't playing this summer for Germany. Finally, just take a summer to yourself. But at the same time, I will never fault a guy for wanting to represent his country at the highest level of sport. So I've got mixed feelings about it, but all in all, going to be exciting to see both those guys compete for their countries.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it was more so like, one, we just want him to be as fresh as possible,
right,
for, training camp. And, I think it was in the World Cup 2 summers ago. He had like the ankle sprain, missed a couple of games, was able to come back. But yeah, I'm sure, he's been working on his game. Playing in these like high stakes games are really good for any player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did kind of, hope he would just focus on the Magic this year, but can't fault him for, wanting to play for his home country. And he and Mo and the rest of that German national team are really like spearheading like a basketball revolution in Germany for the next generation. So you just can't be mad at that.
Well, the other thing is, if Franz goes out there in these friendlies or in Eurobasket and starts draining triples over the course of a month, then Magic fans aren't going to care. They're going to be like, oh, this is great. I'm so glad he did this. Bring this back to Orlando. The problem
if he shoots like 40%, like people will be thrilled that he's actually playing because he'll be dominating.
Exactly. The problem is, though, the second, if there's a bad shooting game or whatever, all the comments are going to be about how Franz should have been at home working on his game, blah, 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 which that stuff doesn't make any sense. But either way, I'm still excited to see how they do.
Very much looking forward to that. We're going to take you all kind of behind the curtain really quickly just to tell you some things that we're working on. So one thing that Kevin and I have been kind of talking about how we should handle it. We're sad to, I guess, officially and publicly announce that our guy, Ben Gifford, who's been part of the show and part of the team in different capacities for like the last 4 years, 4.5 years now, somewhere around there. And the last 2 seasons has been handling the Sixth Fan Show for us. He's decided to step away from that, understandably. He's entering like a new awesome chapter in his life. So just best for him and his family to kind of, take a step back from that. So, Kev, we're looking for somebody to help us with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not familiar, our Sixth Fan Show is the show that we host outside of Kia for a select number of Kia Center, I should say, for a select number of games throughout the Magic season, plus at watch parties, playoff games, all that kind of stuff where, our slogan is by fans for fans, and this is what gets the fans involved. It's the show literally by the fans and for the fans, where fans get to have their voice heard, after a big Magic game or a big Magic event or whatever. And so that means we are looking for someone out there to host that. And so obviously there's a lot more information with that. What we're going to do is we're going to post on our social media. Maybe we'll get it up today. Maybe we'll get it up Monday. A link to like a form, like an interest form. If you're interested in potentially doing that, there'll be a form with some instructions and information and that kind of stuff that you can fill out and let us know that you're interested. And then obviously we'll go through all the applications over the course of the next several weeks and see if there's somebody out there who's a great fit, who's a diehard Magic fan who would love to kind of facilitate that, that branch of the Six Man Show, if you will, facilitate the voice of the fans through the Six Fan Show. So a new chapter for that show. Obviously, we always love Ben, and Ben's always going to be a part of the family, and we're super happy for him in his next stage of life. And he birthed this, if you will. Like, we had this idea for it, and we were like, who? And then we thought, oh, Ben would be perfect, and he was. But we are looking forward to the next person who's going to just take the Six Fan Show to the next chapter. And so, definitely looking forward to see who's out there.
Hit us up.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we have started to work on that we're not quite ready to like officially roll out everything just yet, but something that we get asked for from time to time is, hey, I'm a Magic fan in Dallas, or I'm a Magic fan in Toronto. Do you know any other Magic fans in the area? And a lot of times we don't, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. And we love bringing Magic fans together in person for watch parties, whether it be in Orlando or back in the day. I would, do watch parties in Tampa with Magic fans in my area where I lived. So we want to bring that across the country and really across the globe. So we don't know exactly what we're going to call it just yet. We haven't really settled on a name, but effectively like 6-man chapters across the world where, depending on where you live, we're hoping that you might be, an hour or so drive away from being able to gather with Magic fans to watch games in your city. So basically what we're going to be looking for, obviously, are fans in different cities across the world, but we're going to be looking for some fans specifically to help us kind of spearhead this group in your area. Somebody that would like help us find venues, coordinate like when and where, get everybody together, obviously be like very outgoing and friendly, and really like bring the whole group together. So if you're interested in that, just be on the lookout. Hopefully we'll be able to like roll out some like official information on that in the coming weeks. But that's something that I know that we're super pumped up for too.
Yeah, super passionate about that. It's part of the mission of who we are as a 6-man show is, bringing Magic fans together. And a couple things with that, like one of the things is we're also really excited for this for those that live in NBA cities that aren't Orlando, because this is not just an opportunity for you to gather to watch a game, at a restaurant, a bar, or whatever, but it's also an opportunity for you as a group to go to the game when the Magic are in town. And so that can kind of cultivate, another sense of community there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool, concept. It's not new. Like it's mainly comes from like European soccer culture and things like that. Like there are big clubs that have chapters all around the world. Or I know like you've got Yankees people that do the same thing, right? This is nothing new, but there's nothing like this out there for Magic fans. And so we're trying to get this off the ground. And but yeah, I think it's gonna be cool, because what we'll do, if assuming we can get this up and running this season, let's say we've got a Tampa chapter and a Jacksonville chapter and an Atlanta chapter or whatever, then we can like designate certain games as like watch party games, like chapter games. So like obviously opening night. So we'll say opening night's a chapter game. And so there'll be a watch party in Tampa and Jacksonville, Miami and Atlanta and Dallas and whatever other cities you all are listening from. And then like we said, it won't be every game. It's not like we're going to have 82 watch parties in Dallas all season long. I mean, maybe we will. Maybe you guys are that dedicated and die hard in Dallas. But it'll be certain games throughout the year we'll kind of designate as these special games, and
like definitely nationally televised games, like games that are like easily accessible wherever you are.
Right.
We're hoping the Magic will have at least a handful of those.
Yeah.
So, if you have the opportunity to get together 4 or 5 times a year to watch games, and then once or twice a year when the Magic come to your city, Like, we're super fired up about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really, really cool. But if you're interested, like I said, if you're watcher of the show, listener of the show, diehard Magic fan, and your ears like immediately perked up when you heard this idea, then yeah, definitely be on the lookout. We'll talk more about it on the show, as we get closer to it, but also keep an eye on our social media. And same thing, like the Six Fan Show, we'll put out a form, an interest form, where you can say, hey, I'm in San Antonio and I'm interested in leading the chapter or whatever like that. So just be on the lookout for that.
And then coming up next Wednesday, the 30th, we'll be recording our Anything But Magic episode. The last episode of July, we started this last year. We're bringing it back. We're doing an episode where we answer all of your questions that are anything but magic. So you can ask us anything that you want as long as it's not related to the magic. This is the one show that we do like this a year. So, like, for example, you want to know, in 6 foot of water, who would win in a fight between like a polar bear and a great white shark? Like, you want to know stuff like that, weird questions, we welcome those. So text the number, call the number, send us emails, tweet at us, comment on YouTube, send direct messages wherever, like however you want to get those questions in. You've got 10 days to get those in.
We're going to start collecting those. As you send them, we'll gather them, we'll put them in a document, and then we'll just rapid fire them. Jonathan, when you said, who would win in 6 feet of water, I thought you were going to say between the two of us. Like if we were in 6 feet of water. I would drown you. Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. Okay. Yeah, you would.
You've been pumping iron.
Well, I haven't
been working out.
6 feet of water, I'm not the world's best swimmer, and so I imagine
you're
probably
almost 6 feet tall.
That is true.
So you just be able to like almost stand.
Yeah,
I would be the one swimming.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take you. No, I'm just kidding.
Definitely fair.
It'd be tough. It'd be a tough battle.
It would. Yeah, we can talk off air about who would win that, but
deal.
Yeah, get those in. It's really one of my like favorite things that we did last year. It's just it's something different, kind of just nice little change of pace, tons of fun, and we got really good reception from that last year. And talking about reception, reception of the last pod. Just wanted to say thank you, especially to like those of you in the YouTube comments. Like Kevin and I were just kind of firing from the hip and talking on that pod, but like the reaction to that was like super wholesome and really cool. I was on vacation really since we dropped that pod, and I got home earlier this evening and had the ability to sit down and really read through each one of those, and just really nice. Thanks, guys. Said so many nice things and just kind of heartwarming, and really appreciate it.
It's always, it's an episode we do every year, and it's always weird to sit there and talk about yourself for any length, at least for me. Some people, it's easy for them to do it. I think you and I, it's not really our personality to sit there and talk about ourselves. So it was one of those, like, after we, stopped recording, I was like, man, it always just feels weird just talking about yourself. And then to read people say, hey, it's really cool getting to know you, or maybe I've known the show for a long time and I still, got to hear something I hadn't heard before about you guys. And I was very grateful. It's very nice of you, but don't get used to it. It's not happening again until next year. We're done talking about ourselves, except maybe the Anything But Magic episode. If you have non-magic questions about us, we'll do that.
One of the comments said, I always look like I'm aura farming, which I don't really know what that means. I don't like, I've heard people use that term in regards to actually like one of my favorite anime, Solo Leveling. Like, oh, this show just aura farms, and like, I think it's a good thing, but some people also like use it as a insult. So I don't really know how to take that. I hope that you meant it well, but I guess I don't totally understand what it means, but
yeah, I don't either. I just know, I think I know what it means. It's the guy on the boat. Have you seen,
I look like I'm always doing that. Yeah.
I thought that was aura farming. So
that is I think that's an example of aura farming. Okay, but I don't know if it's the definition of it.
Sure, that's just the phrase I've heard most recently when it comes to that.
Yes, which I mean, to his credit, he definitely was killing it. Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, you're gonna have to go to this part of the YouTube video to see the little dance that Kev was just doing. Dude killed it.
I've got great moves too. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job there. Yeah, I was introduced to that by Tristan da Silva. Actually, I was like, "What is this dude doing?" And then the video popped up on my timeline, and then I went and watched like were they in Thailand or they were in
I don't know,
some Asian country, like these boat races, and they've got like young, men doing these crazy dances on the front of the boat and looking awesome doing it. So I watched like 5 or 6 of those. Like I kind of got stuck in a little bit of a loop there, but anyways, really appreciate everybody. And I know that when we do that, most of like the listener and viewer base has already heard that. So for you all to sit through that, for almost like an hour, just really, really appreciate that, guys. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Okay. So now we're going to get kind of to the main topic of today's episode. So this is something that to me was first introduced through like Reddit threads, where you basically like rate different players in your franchise's history. So like whether they're loved, divided, or hated, but then you also match it up by like great players that are loved, fan opinion is divided, and hated. So we did this great, good, average, and bad. So for great, good, average, and bad, each one of those categories, we're going to go through a player that is loved, fan base is kind of divided on them, and then who is hated.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird to think of like a good player that's hated, but I can think of one, and we're going to talk about it.
It's just think of it like a grid, okay? So like the x-axis, right? I guess this horizontal, right? That's your great, good, average, bad. So like, how good was the player? By the way, criteria for this, when they were playing for the Magic, they may have had a great career somewhere else, but if they were bad in Orlando, they're on the list, and vice versa, right? So great, good, average, bad. And then vertically, you have loved, which is based on the fan base. Like, does the fan base love them?
Remember, the little tail goes down.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
The y-axis. Learned that in 7th grade.
Look at that. Yeah. Loved. Are they loved by the fan base? Is the fan base, the next line, is the fan base divided on them, on the opinion? And then the last one, does the fan base hate them? And that's just generally. And
speaking. We're talking sports hate, not real hate.
Yes. Yeah, of course. We don't.
I sports hate Kyle Lowry and actually hate Kyle Lowry, but that's a little different.
Yeah, that was a bad example.
Yeah, you're right. No, I sports hate Kyle Lowry. I know he's a great father and everything like that. He's just a dirty player and
very dirty,
kind of chunky, but that's between him and God.
Yeah, where do you want to start this? There's a lot of ways you can start this, Jonathan. I'm curious how you want to, which by the way, we have not revealed our answers to each other. So that's part of this episode is us revealing them to each other. I kind of
want to go like each x-axis down. So like great, love, divided, hated, good, love, divided, hated, and so on and so forth. Great.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we should start with great then, because I'm curious, for me, my list of like the players that were available for great were the Mount Rushmore of the Magic. Correct. That's what I did. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So great.
Honestly, I'm willing to put Franz and Paolo in that. Like if you have one of them there, I'm honestly fine with that.
I didn't.
Because I'm that confident that they're going to be there.
Sure. I understand that. I did not do that, but I don't blame you.
I didn't either. I didn't. They're not. Neither of them are on my list.
Well, great. Good. Me neither. Okay.
All right.
Great.
So
loved.
Who's your great loved?
I really went back and forth. I kind of have a short list for each of these, but I'm just going to pick the one off, that I'm feeling in the moment. I think for great loved, I'm going to put Penny Hardaway. That's my great loved. He also, this isn't a fan opinion thing. Like, I don't think he's divided in that people don't love him, but there will always obviously be the question mark with him. Like, if it weren't for injuries, I think many Magic fans believe he would have gone down as one of the greatest players to ever play basketball, which I think he, in the sense of talent, when he was healthy, was one of the best players ever. But regardless, loved that there wasn't the same level of drama in the departure as there were with T-Mac, Dwight, and Shaq. And so for that reason, I'm going to put him as the great player that is loved by Magic fans.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Jam Hot Chicken is bringing Jam's culture and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Jam Hot Chicken is a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida, located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Be sure to follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media and check out their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, to access their menu, online ordering, and all things Jam Hot. speaking of ordering, you can order them on Uber Eats if you are local to Winter Park, but you don't want to leave the house and you want that hot, delicious, spicy goodness delivered straight to your door. Download the Uber Eats app and get Jam Hot Chicken delivered. Not only are they friends and supporters of the podcast and a staple of Winter Park, but they're also huge Magic fans. So you support us, do us a favor and go support them. Stop by Jam Hot Chicken and let them know that the boys over at the Six Man Show sent you.
We also want to shout out Nathaniel McKendry, Junior Barus, Magic Matt, Austin Lampy, and Jonathan Borges, who are 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. Our patrons are the people that went to patreon.com/The Six Man Show and decided that they wanted to financially support the work that we're doing here at the Six Man Show. Again, go to that link, see the different tiers that are available, find the one that works best for you. If you believe in our mission here of raising up this Orlando Magic fan base to be bigger and better each and every year, then again, you can go to patreon.com/The Six Man Show. Each of the different tiers offer different benefits, different perks, like our monthly Zoom call, access to our Discord, also ad-free episodes, something we've started doing recently. So yeah, browse the different tiers, see the benefits that might interest you the most. And again, that's patreon.com/The Six Man Show. And now let's get back to the episode.
So I think there's only one other guy that you could put here in the Mount Rushmore. And for me, it's Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, same.
And even though the departure wasn't great, I do think it maybe wasn't as tumultuous as Penny or Shaq. Penny, it was more just like injury stuff from what I remember and kind of how that was handled. Everyone knows kind of what happened with Shaq. And then with Dwight, obviously everyone remembers that quite well. Yeah. Again, like the Penny stuff, like Penny didn't go somewhere else and have like this second, awesome part of his career. Like, he was still very good, but like didn't go somewhere and, was what Dwight was in Houston, or I guess kind of LA a little bit, even though it didn't last that long. And then Shaq going to the Lakers and the Heat and everything. Or like Tracy McGrady went to Houston, like had some good, regular season performances, fizzled out in the playoffs, and is still like mostly remembered for playing for the Magic. Like a lot of people still remember the Houston days, like the 13 points in 38 seconds. And but for me, like the only other guy that you could really put there is T-Mac. Like, yeah, I don't ever really hear people rag on T-Mac about him leaving and stuff like that. Like he's almost universally loved, regardless of how his time here ended.
Yeah, 100% agree. He was the other guy I had him in my short list for great and loved. But yeah, I gave the nod to Penny, but I don't hate the T-Mac thing either.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go next then. Great divided. It's been divided for a long time. I feel like it's trending towards great loved, but I have Dwight. I feel like most of the fan base is kind of healed, especially with, the induction into the Hall of Fame, hopefully soon to be jersey retirement. And like, he's been like really layering on the Magic love like the past, 2.5 years now. And I don't know how many times a guy can apologize and publicly say, I never should have left and all that kind of stuff. And is like not directly pleading, but like on podcasts, like pleading with Paolo to like just stay and like finish your career in Orlando. Like,
yeah,
if you still hate Dwight, you always will. There's nothing else that he could really do at this point to kind of mend that bridge for you. I feel like 75-80% of the fan base has like forgiven Dwight and like is back to wanting him to be celebrated.
I love what you said. Yeah, if you haven't forgiven Dwight yet, you probably never will. I think that's so true because he's proven, at least to most of us, the last couple of years that he's tried to move on from it. He's for the most part owned up to it. Maybe not as explicitly as some of us maybe would have liked. I would have loved him to just come out
definitely
and say
more explicitly than others.
That's true, 100%. Yeah, but I sometimes do wish he would just come out and say, yeah, I screwed that up big time. I'm so sorry to the fans. I blew it. We had a really good thing. I don't know. And he's kind of danced around.
He kind of has, yeah.
Sort of, yeah, but he just kind of I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking for certain words, and that's on me. But
Right.
All in all, I'm with you.
Sometimes in life, people apologize their own way, and it may not be exactly what you need, but sometimes it's the best you're going to get out of people,
Right.
and that's kind of where I think we are.
And that's where I said that's on me. But yeah, by and large, I'm very happy with how that has turned around. He is also who I had. Great divided. The next thing is just really tough for me because the last guy on the list, obviously, this section is easy because there's 4 players to choose from, right? Shaq is an interesting one because in my mind, I'm putting him in hated because I can't stand how he talks about the Magic now, especially after we retired his jersey, and then he turns around and talks about the Magic and ignores Paolo and all those kinds of things.
And says my Hawks and stuff like that against the Magic in the play-in game.
Yep. However, this is about the Magic fan base as a whole. And Shaq is still very, very beloved by a large section of the Magic fan base. Large. And maybe some of that is Magic fans who are less digitally inclined. You know, maybe they don't keep up with all the stuff that...
Let's put it this way. You and I live in this like Magic social media sphere, and we have to remind ourselves that that's not real life.
Exactly.
As much as we're inundated with that, and it can kind of help mold our opinions on some of these things,
right?
It's not real life. However, if you are in the Magic social universe, he is trending hated.
That's right. He is, yeah. But again, like you said, this Orlando Magic world is so much bigger than this little digital corner, you know, which we've come to find out, even just doing this show, you know, looking at our numbers versus how many, you know, people go to games and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a whole different universe of Magic fans out there. So I actually am going to I put Dwight and Shaq both in divided, which is against the rules, but I'm doing it anyway. And I don't have anybody in hated because, again, I think overall, I think Shaq is very divided, like a divisive character, I guess, right now. But I don't think there's enough hatred across the board to put him in hated.
Yeah, like we see people all the time like, oh, I wish we didn't retire his jersey. And honestly, that's how I feel.
100%.
Like at this point, like being there that night even, it kind of just felt like it's like Caesar just wants to be, you know, presented to the crowd. You know, he wanted to be carried on a velvet. I don't even know what those things were called. They used to carry, you know, Roman emperors in on, wanted to be fed grapes, got to sit in the throne, all that kind of stuff. Like joked about like buying the team, you know, in the middle of that. And I personally am just like not totally a fan at this point of the guy, and especially the way that he talks about the Magic. So this is part of my personal opinion. I'm going to leave him in hated just for the sake of argument. I know it's going to be controversial, and I know especially like and I do understand it, even though I feel differently, but it's kind of hard for me to be where other people are who like grew up in 89 through, you know, or you know, 90 through 94 with the guy. Like it just kind of, you know, it is what it is. So but yeah, I'm gonna leave him in hated there. This next part, this is where the conversation really opens up, because like there's different opinions of like good, average, bad, and we'll go through all of this. I'll start with good loved. I think it's Hedo Turkoglu. Good player, obviously key part of the, you know, 08-09 teams. I think he, you know, meets the level of good, and I think Hedo is like universally loved by Magic fans. I've never heard anyone say that they don't like Hedo, or, you know, he was overrated or anything like that. Like comes to games, gets cheered. Hedo Turkoglu is loved. And
Definitely
he was good.
loved. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I feel like this section, you know, good player who's loved by Magic fans, you probably could come up with the biggest list out of all of them. Like, I feel like there's a lot of good players in Magic history that Magic fans really loved. For me, the top of the list, though, is Nick Anderson. I think, you know, the longevity plays into it, 10 years with the team. Plus, I know it's technically not breaking the rules because it's not about his playing career, but being an ambassador with the team.
Breaking the rules, you bad boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just a rebel. But he's been around the team for so long now. You know, this is his team. You know, he is Mr. Orlando Magic. And so, and again, for people that weren't around in his playing days, 89 to 99 in Orlando, he was a good basketball player, like a very good, impactful, winning basketball player.
Like
Obviously,
borderline all-star.
Yeah, played in the shadows of Shaq and Penny for, the prime of, that part of his career. But very, very good basketball player. And at the top of many lists, mainly just games played especially, but many lists of Magic, statistical categories and stuff. So the longevity, the fact that he was a good player, a lot of winning, and again, breaking the rules. But the fact that he stuck around, he's been an ambassador forever. For me, he's in my good, loved section there of this one. Do you have any other, did you come up with any other names for this section?
No, I was
here?
just thinking to myself before the comments, I'm sure the people are already typing. I know Shaq was drafted in 92, not 1990, so don't come for me.
Yeah.
There are other people that I feel could go here, but I have them in other sections.
Okay.
Maybe at the end we can be like, oh, well, who else fit some of these? Because some I feel like you might have in another spot, and I don't want to kind of step on the toes of that. The next good divided that I have is Nikola Vucevic. There's a lot of Magic fans love Vooch. A lot of Magic fans don't care for Vooch because of the way that the team played when he was here and the level of success that they didn't have.
Interesting.
And it's always funny to me that people say that he wasn't good. Like, the guy was a 2-time All-Star here. He obviously was good. And he was a reserve, meaning he was voted in by coaches. It wasn't like a fan vote. And the dude is the all-time leading field goal leader in Magic history, and is top 2 or 3 in rebounds, and was really good, and I think it's divided. That's whenever I bring up Vooch anywhere, there's people that love him, want his jersey retired, and there's people here that want to completely forget that he played for the team.
That's very interesting. I don't feel it as, in my experience, that hasn't felt as divided. I think if anything, what feels divided now is, do you want to bring him back right now? That feels a little bit divided to me, but yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about him as a candidate for divided. For my divided,
there are people who recognize that he was good, but they don't want him back. But again, we talk about this. We need to think of a good name for the Magic social media sphere, but having enough interactions with some folks over the years, it's no matter how good he was when he was here, never cared for him because the team sucked for the most part when he was here. So they don't even recognize that, statistically speaking, he's probably if you look at the body of work, probably a top 2 to 4 Magic player of all time.
Right.
Not quite talented enough to be in that Mount Rushmore, but when you put his numbers up against some of those other guys, he's up there towards the top of what he was able to do here.
Right. Especially when you include longevity. That's a big part of it. Yeah. My good player that is divided amongst the fan base, for me, I ended up going with Grant Hill.
Okay. That's a good one.
Very
good pull.
Good player. Divided because of the injuries, right? There was this whole thing with T-Mac and Grant Hill at the time, when we brought them in, that this was going to be, knock on wood, similar vibes maybe to right now, a new era of Magic basketball, to all-star caliber
2.0.
Right, 2 all-star caliber players, and there's the whole thing that they were going to have a third player, but we won't go there right now. And then it was all just derailed by injuries.
Doc.
Yeah, derailed by injuries time and time and time again. And so over the course of, how many years did he officially play? He played basically 6
or 7.
Yes, between 6 and 7 seasons. He played 200 games in those seasons, right? And again, good player. Before Orlando was an all-star player and was, again, on the ascendancy, another player that's another big what if when it comes to injuries. But for that reason, he's very divided, right? I don't think that, for the most part, any sane people out there are divided, they're angry at him because of the injuries. But I think they're just, maybe angry about him because of the injuries, because it does feel like a lost segment of time there in which T-Mac literally had to do everything, which on the one hand gave us a lot of entertaining moments and a lot of high scoring outputs by T-Mac and a lot of things to remember, but it was also a lot of losing basketball in several of those seasons. So that's why I put Grant Hill as my good divided. Jonathan, you've gone first the last two, so it should be my turn, but I really want to hear your good hated because I have a feeling I think I know who it is.
Evan Fournier.
I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. Your Evan Fournier victim mentality. Let's hear it.
He was a good player. He was miscast in his time here.
Yep.
And the reason that I'm going to say it. I stand for Evan Fournier is in response to like disproportionate hate, in my opinion. It's really not because I think he was this phenomenal player, but I think he was so much better than people give him credit for. Like people act like he was completely terrible and he wasn't. Most years was like second, third, leading scorer at worst. Wasn't the best defender, but like was sneakily efficient. Like what would you do to have a player on our team right now that could average 17 points on close to 40% 3-point shooting, and on a team that had no spacing whatsoever, had very limited playmaking, and a lot of times he was like the primary or secondary playmaker on those teams, and like he was second or third most important player on a team that went to the playoffs twice. Like there are other guys that are considered like, good players that like didn't even sniff the playoffs. Like I understand people look at what happened with Victor Oladipo, right? One, not Evan Fournier's fault that Rob Hennigan decided he didn't want to pay both of them and traded Vio and Sabonis away for Serge Ibaka, and then that completely blew up in our face. But like Victor Oladipo didn't do that stuff here, like the stuff that he went on to do. And I would argue that it was never going to happen for him here. He had to go to OKC, see how Russ went about his business. And yeah, you cannot convince me that in the same way that people try to convince me that Nikola Vucevic wasn't good or that he was like a empty stats kind of guy because the team didn't have the, most like team success when he was here. That's not Nikola Vucevic's fault. That's not Evan Fournier's fault. Like Rob Hennigan was legitimately awful at his job. And even when Jeff Weltman came in, he spent the first like several years cleaning up Rob Hennigan's mess.
Yeah.
So people think that I think that Evan Fournier is in like the great tier, but it's like, no, there's just so much hate. Like the small proportion of us who are sticking up for him have to be very loud to try to combat the hate.
And I think maybe that's what surprised me. Not surprised. I'm not surprised. That's what
No, you're not surprised.
I'm
Nobody's surprised.
I predicted it. But for me, it's not about him being in the good tier. I think most Magic fans would probably agree with that. For me, it's him being in the hated tier. Because
he's hated.
I think he is. But for me, he feels more divided. Maybe it's because I'm around you all the time and you're just lifting up the corner of the internet.
I'm doing a good job, I guess.
Because I don't hate him. I've never hated him. I agree he's been miscast. Do I roll my eyes every time you bring him up in an episode? Yeah, but that's part of the shtick,
Yeah,
it's part of the thing. No, I don't know. Maybe this is what I'd like to do. If you we'll say the word strongly dislike. If you strongly dislike...
If you sports hate.
Yeah, if you sports hate Evan Fournier, let us know in the comments because I would really like to know. I'm very curious.
I sports hate Christian Laettner.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm curious if Jonathan's, perception of the Fournier hate is still as strong today as it was, years ago. I'm very curious. Jonathan, I struggled. I couldn't...
You have the next three in a row, by the way.
Perfect, that's fine. I couldn't come up with a good hated player. Evan Fournier was on the border for me, but I put him in divided because I feel like he's got a little more love from Magic fans than hated. But okay, you want to move on to average players that were loved, divided, and hated by Magic fans? Okay, I'll kick us off here. Another category, a lot of options. We could have had a dozen different average players that Magic fans, for one reason or another, just fell in love with. Of my short list, I am going to pick JJ Redick. That is my average loved player. Obviously, after the Magic, went on to have probably an above average career. I'd say an above average career. Certainly, like, again, career longevity. Like, played a lot of years, a lot of playoff appearances. I don't remember what the number was that he ended up like 9 years in a row in the playoffs or something like that with a bunch of different teams. But regardless,
I think it was like his first like 12 or 13 years in the
even
league.
more, whatever it is. Yeah. Highly beloved in Orlando too. And maybe this is me just speaking from my own experience. What I always loved about JJ Redick was I was at the draft party at the time, I think it was still Amway Arena, when we drafted JJ Redick. And I remember joining into the chorus of boos. I didn't know what I was doing, but I joined with everyone as they were booing. I was like, hey, all these guys are booing. Let's boo. I was too young to really realize it. And then I remember, his first year, his second year, not great, highly questionable. And you're like, well, here it goes again. Another, very, accomplished college player who just fizzles out once he gets to the NBA. And then something happened. And that's something, I think, by and large, which he's admitted it himself, is Stan Van Gundy happened. And Stan Van Gundy was able to get the most out of JJ. And so I think part of why he's so loved, at least for me, is he didn't give up. He worked his tail off to become a serviceable, then average, then I think, again, later in his career, a good NBA player. And so, again, a lot of guys you could have put there, but for me, I'm going with JJ as an average Magic player who is loved.
My favorite JJ Redick story comes from a player that you listed earlier, from Grant Hill, talking about JJ Redick like being late to practice and then like them taping him to a chair and like putting him in the shower. And then Heo Turkoglu wanted to pee on him. Like, that's it's just the craziest thing of all time.
Yeah, wild.
My average love player was on the team very recently, Cole Anthony.
Oh,
I think that's as average and as loved as it gets.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay. That's good.
Had good moments, had down moments,
sure.
And it came out to average results.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess maybe if you count the first part of his career weighed out with the second part of his career in Orlando, maybe it does end up being average. I think that might be fair. But yeah, I mean, he was definitely
even his seasons, would have good portions of the season, would have down portions of the seasons, and it would just come out to kind of average. And I think that's ultimately why the Magic decided to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is beloved.
Which, by the way, I don't know if this was official the last time we talked. Maybe it was. I think it was. Yeah, him signing with Milwaukee. We did talk about that. So,
but the video was tough.
I mean, I don't know. It didn't bother me. I know a couple Magic fans. It did. Yeah.
Someone tweeted that it's like seeing the girl that you broke up with happy with their new boyfriend, and even though you're like, yeah, I know I don't really want to be with you, it still kind of hurts a little bit. Yeah. It did feel like that. I can't lie.
It did. Yeah, I felt nothing, and maybe that's terrible of me, but I was just like, it's time. Totally it's fair. Time. It's time for both of us. Average player divided. I believe this is the only player on my whole list that is from the current roster, and it is a player that I see as average with a divided opinion amongst the fan base. I put Wendell Carter Jr. in this spot. What's the oof for?
That I kind of have him in between average and good, but I don't know that I would put him necessarily in good, but no, I do think it's pretty divided. Yeah,
I mean, I can't put him in the same category as Nikola Vucevic or Nick Anderson.
Right.
Like, he's not that level of good, and so I put him in average.
Right.
But divided because especially now with the whole Desmond Bane acquisition, like, if you ask Magic fans, the next place to upgrade is his spot, and he's obviously, didn't play up to the best standard last season, but he did have some good moments earlier in his Magic career, and you'd like to see, if this is the season that he can bounce back to at least that level that we saw earlier. I think he'll win some Magic fans back over, but for me, I've got him in the divided category.
So I also only have one current Magic player on the list, and it's right here in average divided. I have Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
And I think average, for the most part, has been based off of his availability and coming off the down year. I think if we look at how he's looked when he's been healthy and playing at the correct weight, you could probably put him in the good tier and maybe have him divided there. But I think in recent years, the reason that the fan base has been divided on JI has kind of, the reasons have changed, not always basketball related. I feel like most of that has kind of cooled off. And right now it feels like the fan base is a little bit divided because of basketball reasons.
Right.
Because he had a down year, because he, played in 70 games, but only played, 13, 14, 15 minutes per game. And it seems like some folks are like, oh, like me, I'm like, oh, he put on a ton of weight. He looks shredded right now in recent photos that we've seen. Hopefully he can bounce back and be that defender again. But some people are like, we've been on this ride for the last 5 years now. It's time to move on. So, I think it's pretty divided with JI.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. That's interesting that we both have our only current players are in the average divided category. It's very interesting. Okay, average and hated. All right. I came up with two guys here, and I got to pick one. I'm not going to go recency bias because the second guy is a recency bias thing. I'm going to go with Glenn Big Baby Davis. Average player.
Average, I would have had him in bad. I almost put him in bad.
I wouldn't argue with you on that. I put him in average, and maybe I'm giving him a little more credit for his time before Orlando, maybe. But his time in Orlando, just part of it is it's wrapped up in so much more than just basketball. Like, that was just a miserable time in general as a Magic fan.
And the fact that not only the basketball, but it was like one of the guys that Dwight wanted here.
Correct. Yeah.
And then he bounced anyway.
Right. It's part of the drama.
And left him with us.
But I think some of the the emotional baggage that he brought in with him came from his time in Boston. And I know that's not part of this exercise, but that's still part of my psyche. Like, he was in the hated tier the second he arrived in Orlando for me. He hadn't even played a game, and I still hated him. He's one of the few guys that, like, I've always said, you can be my enemy, but once you put on that jersey, I'm rooting for you. I always had a hard time rooting for him because of how he played with the Celtics and against the Magic. I think about the game winner in 2009 where he knocked over Ernie Preveti's, I believe it was son. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, that whole thing was just a mess. And then he ends up playing for your team, and I just hated it every second of the way.
The fact that I loved Brandon Bass. So the fact that Brandon Bass was involved in that deal, and I thought at the time, and I think it proved to be true on the floor, that Brandon Bass was a better player.
Yeah.
It felt like we gave up a good player just to get one of Dwight's friends here.
Right.
And then he was bad, and then Dwight left anyway.
Yep. So, maybe average was generous, but who do you have as average hated?
Well, hearing your recency bias comment, we might have the same person here. I have Gary Harris.
Yeah, that was my other guy. Yeah.
Yeah. PTO himself.
Yikes.
Just by the end, you could probably say bad, but if we just kind of wrap his entire, Magic tenure, he came out to be average. Yeah. And because of the fact that he got in the way of development of some younger players, I think you could argue towards the end of his time, which you could also argue whether or not those younger players deserved the minutes to be on the floor. But then just the fact that he couldn't, really stay on the floor after his first couple of years here. Sports hated Gary Harris.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, I 100% agree. Like, balancing out his early Magic career versus his end Magic career. Yeah. Put him in average, but that might be generous. Okay, this last category going to be very interesting. Who we have as bad Magic players. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about Magic players from the past and just slapping a label like bad on them. But this is going to be interesting. Do you want to go first with this one? Loved players who were maybe bad.
This to me was the hardest one to pick bad loved, like a player that was bad that was still beloved by fans. And I think maybe at the end of this we can like circle back and be like, well, who did you almost put here, and talk about that. So this one is kind of tricky because like when a guy is bad, pretty much no matter how much he's loved, at some point they kind of slip down to divided or hated. But for a long time, I don't know if maybe this is a better divided pick, but this is the best one that I could come up with, Mario Hezonja, because for a long time we were just kind of hoping that it would work out, and he would show flashes that like, oh man, maybe something is in there, and it just never turned out to happen for him. What do we take him with the 5th pick overall? I think it was in 2015, and he just never lived up to that billing. But man, like you and I talked about it, I think, last week or a couple weeks ago, he hits the game winner in that first summer league game, and we had Kroby.
Yep, that's right.
Some people hated him from day one because of the attitude and like, oh, I think it was like Messi should come see me play or whatever, his comment was when he was playing for Real Madrid. But I kind of always liked that about Mario, that he had this irrational confidence, and part of that made me believe in him a lot longer than I should have. Like I just thought he was going to figure it out, and he never did. Obviously,
I almost put him as my divided player in the same category, so I think that's fair. All right, this one. First off, this was a very easy category for me. I thought of 4 people right off the rip that I think were bad and loved. I'm about to say something, so I'm literally begging for forgiveness. I'm begging.
Oh no. I know where you're going. I almost put him here.
Maybe you do. A friend of the show. So I am literally begging for forgiveness with this. For me, the top intersection of loved and bad, I have Bo Outlaw.
Friend of the show, I have no idea where we're going.
Bo Outlaw. That's who I put. Okay.
Bad?
Yes, Jonathan.
I was
you have to let me. You have to let me explain it. I love Bo, and that's why he's up here. One of my favorite Magic players of all time. A lot of Magic fans love Bo Outlaw. Offensively, Bo Outlaw was non-existent. It was bad offensively.
Watch hustle, him, defense, rebounding.
All those things are great. The defense was great. The rebounding was great. But the offense, like watch him at the free throw. His free throws were one of the ugliest things you'll ever see in Magic history. They're bad. They're really. I think he shot like 40% from the free throw line for his career. Like it's bad. And I love him, but that's where like that to me, that's the ultimate pinnacle of like a guy. And look, I gotta be careful what I'm gonna say. He wouldn't survive in today's NBA. That's what I'm trying to say. I love Bo Outlaw to death, but with this literally zero negative offense, unplayable in today's, just like Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is my favorite non-Magic. I mean, he played for the Magic, but the majority of his career not with the Magic. He's my favorite non-Magic player ever. Again, probably wouldn't really play in today's NBA because the offense just wasn't there. But
I think he would be more like almost like Rudy Gobert kind of, I think he was so good defensively that he would find a way. But when you said good loved was Nick Anderson, I like average loved went Bo Outlaw. So I just kind of have him in average, but definitely loved Bo. Very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Did you do your bad? Oh yeah, you did. That was Mario Hezonja. Right. Okay. Bad divided. Maybe another controversial one. A more recent player. I've got Bol is my divided.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think there's still a lot of Magic fans that loved his time in Orlando, wish he was still here. And if anything, it was more of the Bol experience. But once you got past the shock and awe factor of what Bol is, and you get down to the basketball side of things, you go, no. At least for me, I'm like, no, not good, but divided. So I'm going to put Bol as my bad divided. Who you got?
I have someone very close to Bol. I have Mo Bamba, the tall, lanky, kind of being able to shoot and do different things. He was loved because people felt like, Kem Birch was kind of getting in the way of his development. But then when he was on the floor, kind of showed that he just didn't quite have it. And I think we've been given further evidence in his other stops around the league. So there was always the folks who were big fans of Mo and wanted him to get more opportunity. And then there were the others who just saw that he wasn't bad and didn't have a super high motor. So for me, bad divided was Mo Bamba. And bad hated Gilbert Arenas was bad here. Hate his guts. It's more than sports hate. It's definitely like a personal disdain. I just don't really care for him personally. Yeah. And he also was completely terrible here and talks trash about the Magic because he's salty that he was terrible here and then was one of the only players in NBA history to get amnestied.
Yeah.
Because he was so bad.
So bad. Which, by the way, he was my second on my list for this section, by the way. Highly encourage, if you're an NBA fan out there, to go watch the new Netflix documentary about Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton and their locker room firearm fiasco thing. Very interesting stuff. If you were around back then, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they've got a new documentary about it. I think it was on Netflix, and it is riveting stuff. For me, bad, hated. This is kind of out of left field, but this is just more my personal thing. To me, he's probably maybe my least favorite Magic player of all time. It was only for one. I'm pretty sure it was only one season. Let me double check this. But let's see, where is he? My guy. I'm double checking if he was here for only one, and he was. Yeah, one season, 16-17. Jeff Green.
Wow.
Jeff Green, bad, hated. Here's why. First off, had a very nice career all over the NBA.
Still going.
It's still going, yeah. Made himself a very professional NBA career, which I absolutely admire and respect and all those things. His one season in Orlando, however, I have never seen a player in my time watching this team that, at least on the surface, to me, to my eyes, my untrained eyes, just looked like he was showing up to get a paycheck. Which, in some ways, he was. The Magic paid him a lot of money that season because they had to. They had to hit the salary floor, and so they paid him a lot of money to reach that. Overpay, yes, but it was a one-year deal. And then the team was really, really bad that season. And so, sure, on the surface, I guess you can say, yeah, mail it in. You're just here to make money for one season and try to go win next year, I guess. But he didn't sell it at all. To me, it just looked like most nights he was just like, yeah, I'm just here so I don't get fined. That whole thing. Pay me, and then I'm going to leave. And that's exactly what he did. He played some nights and did his thing and got paid a lot of money, and then he was out. And so, like I said, made a great career in a lot of other places, but in Orlando, no thank you, Jeff Green. You're at the top of my bad and hated list.
Jeff Green at a season ticket holder event that year also promised me that they would make the playoffs, and obviously they didn't. So he's in there for me too. Another bad hated from around that time, Brandon Jennings.
Yep.
Brandon Jennings was terrible.
Yep.
Like midway through free agency, it's obvious that the Magic aren't bringing him back, and he tweets out, "Orlando never happened." And then later on deleted the tweet.
Right,
but
of course.
He was terrible. And was also part of the, Ersan Ilyasova, Brandon Jennings trade for Tobias Harris.
Right.
So that was another thing where it wasn't quite to the level of the Glenn Davis trade, but really like Tobias Harris. And in the moment, it was like, we did what?
Yeah.
You traded Tobias Harris for who?
Yeah.
And then I'm on YouTube 10 minutes after that watching Ersan Ilyasova highlights, trying to talk myself into it, and just literally could not believe it. And then at the end of the season, when Scott Skiles quits, and then we hear reports that he was trying to quit in January, and then benches Victor Oladipo, and then makes this trade, which there was always the rumor that Tobias Harris and Scott Skiles didn't get along when they were in Milwaukee together. And then he was probably our second best player at the time, gets traded for a bag of chips. And then, again, Jennings was terrible, and then, kind of put up a little bit of a stink on his way out. So he was bad hated.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Who I almost put in bad loved, but I thought bad was a little bit too harsh?
Who?
And I know people are going to get fired up about this. Markelle Fultz. Probably an average loved, maybe average divided, because by the end it was very divided there.
Right.
Trying to think if there's anyone else.
I've got a lot of other honorable mentions that I had. Okay, we mentioned I had Gilbert Arenas as bad, hated. Okay, my bad loved. I had O'Donnell Foyle was in there as well. Loved player, not good in Orlando. Another one more recent, bad loved, Robin Lopez. Not good in Orlando.
Oh, that is a
very
good one.
loved. Very loved. And I'm seeing a trend of my 3 bad loved players. They're just guys who played some level of defense and have 0 offense. So maybe that's on me for calling them bad. Okay. Average loved. What?
Average. I just had a good one in mind and now I lost it. So go back to yours.
Okay. Average loved. I was surprised you did not say this name. Friend of the show, Terrence Ross. I had him in average loved.
That's, you know what, average loved. That's who I was thinking of a moment ago. Yep. Yeah, Terrence Ross, average loved. Joe Ingles, average to bad loved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, like, I mean, I because of like the impact on like the team efficiency with him on the floor, I would almost go average. Like he was loved. Yeah. Like good loved. We obviously could go Jalen Suggs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good, absolutely beloved.
Yep. I've got a couple more for average love. Mikael Petrus, average player,
Air France,
very loved.
Yep.
Jeff Turner, there you go.
Yeah.
Average, very beloved. Average hated. We mentioned the 2 that I had. The other one I had was Serge Ibaka, another guy similar to Jeff Green, who I felt didn't always give 100% when the team was really bad. Okay, good loved. I already said Nick Anderson.
Jameer.
You said Nikola Vucevic. Yep, I had Jameer and Rashard there. Divided, good divided. We mentioned Evan Fournier. And my other one there is Scott Skiles, but not because of his playing career, but because of his coaching career. That was going to be my cheat move right there. Loved
I don't
as a
know
player.
that I'll ever be able to get over that one.
Right. Loved as a player, ended up being not loved as a coach by most Magic fans.
Average love. You might have already said Dennis Scott.
Nope, I didn't put him down, but yeah, he would have been average to good, loved. Yeah, for sure. So, well, and don't get me wrong, there's a million other guys like you mentioned, the good loved, the average loved. I feel like there could have been dozens for each of those, but those are just some of the first guys that came to mind. But
good to average divided, Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Trying to think who else could fit some of these.
A lot of them, dude. There's so many.
Desmond Bane already good loved.
No. Yeah, you got to play at least one game. You got to play at least one game to make this list for me. But yeah, like I said, lots of other people could have made it, but that's just kind of who we came up with. But that was fun. That was a good little exercise. I'm curious, Magic fans, if you're watching or listening, let us know who some of your
leave
players
yours in the
be.
comments if you're watching on YouTube here.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Hopefully you all enjoyed this one. Again, get those questions in for the Anything But Magic mailbag coming up in about 10 days here. Appreciate you as always. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6 Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!